Biodiversity is essentially the foundation of global health. The variety of life on Earth and health of every living organism is ultimately reliant on sustainable ecosystems and the innately fragile and complex web of services provided by the biodiversity within. The slightest disruption in the conditions of biodiversity within an ecosystem can have significant consequences and compromise the health and well-being of every contributing organism. Disturbances in biodiversity have historically been caused abiotically by way of natural weather phenomena, and biotically via insect infestation or biological pathogens. These types of disturbances often occur swiftly and can have remarkably destructive effects, although long-term devastation is rarely permanent as the biota within the ecosystems are able to typically sustain and regenerate naturally. However, when biodiversity and ecosystems are influenced by human behaviors, the consequences can be much more devastating. A sample of these effects include mineral and nutrient eutrophication of the land and the sea, detrimental changes in climate, the degradation of natural habitats, noxious pollutants to the air and water supplies, the introduction of invasive flora and fauna, as well as human encroachment and urbanization. These have all contributed to a significant reduction in worldwide biodiversity. These are but a handful of damaging activities which have led to enormous policy challenges in biodiversity sustainability, particularly as they pertain to global public health. Other examples show that natural ecosystems have declined by an average of 47%. Approximately 25% of all species are already facing extinction. The abundance of naturally present terrestrial species has declined by 23%. The global biomass of all species has declined by 82%. Native and indigenous communities have seen their natural resources decline by at least 73%. The magnitude and consequences of biodiversity loss are substantial. Among the more noteworthy of consequences when measuring the human impact on biodiversity is the estimated number of species lost. While scientific experts continue to express dramatically varying estimates at the rate of extinction, most will contend that Earth is currently in the midst of its sixth mass extinction. Researchers have estimated that 75% of the species that currently inhabit the Earth will have gone extinct within the next 500 years. Many of the world's impoverished communities rely on biodiversity and healthy ecosystems for survival, as they provide an abundance of natural resources essential for daily activities and livelihoods. The loss of biodiversity increases the vulnerability to famine and disease by undermining arable land for agricultural crops and limiting biological resources for fuel and shelter. This map details the correlation between the level of poverty and the biodiversity lost. Zoonotic diseases are responsible for a wide range of pathogens transmitted to humans via viruses, bacteria, fungi, and parasites. It is believed that of the roughly 1,400 pathogens known to infect humans, 61% of those originated zoonotically. Known as the dilution effect, ecosystems high in biodiversity are able to safeguard against the spread of zoonotic diseases by incorporating a high ratio and density of animal reservoirs and arthropod vectors for these potentially deadly pathogens. When the density of biodiversity is reduced, the incidence rate and risk of transmission to humans is drastically increased. Other vector-borne diseases may also increase due to the diluted loss of pathogen hosts and a higher encounter rate between humans and pathogen vectors. The loss of biodiversity severely impacts and decimates a prolific number of microbial and floral organisms. For centuries, these host organisms, which possess rare combinations of chemical compounds, have been instrumental in pharmacological research and discovery. The Royal Botanical Gardens of the United Kingdom has estimated that 30,000 plant species have at least one form of marketable use, with over 17,000 plant species having some sort of medicinal property. The decimated ecosystems also severely limit future possibilities of uncovering new therapeutic botanicals that have yet to be discovered. The stakeholders involved in biodiversity initiatives are essentially non-governmental organizations, colleges and universities, public experts and consultants, and to a lesser extent, corporate partnerships. The following international colleges and universities have dedicated and devoted the most amount of time and resources to global conservation and environmental ecology. The University of Minnesota, Duke University, Imperial College of London, the University of Oxford, the University of Queensland, Harvard University, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, Stanford University, the University of California at Berkeley, and Wageningen University in the Netherlands. The following is a list of non-governmental organizations who have supported and risen to meet the concerns of biodiversity preservation. The International Plant Protection Convention, Oceana, the International Institute for Environment and Development, the Wildlife Conservation Society, the World Wildlife Fund, the E.O. Wilson Biodiversity Foundation, the Plant Conservation Alliance, Conservation International, United Nations Environment Program, Flora and Fauna International. The following policy-relevant questions would be posed to the aforementioned organizations. What are the primary threats to the loss of biodiversity at the local, national, and international levels, and what can be done to reverse those threats? Also, what types of restoration efforts must be applied to achieve sustainability?